Hello, I'd like to talk to you about smoke alarm installations and requests. The fire investigation unit has been tasked with handling the smoke alarm program, and with that program we've found out that there is a pretty large demand for the smoke alarms, and thus far the program has been a great success, and we've installed several hundred alarms. The first thing we're going to address is the WUFU forms. Currently, people can go to HorryCountyFireRescue.com, and on the left hand side of that page request to have a smoke alarm or an address sign installed at their residence. The smoke alarm and address signs have been separated on the form. The address signs are going to be handled at this point by Station 43, Captain Wagner. Smoke alarm requests are handled by the fire investigation unit. As you're aware, I receive those requests and I send them out to the appropriate stations for the installations. What's going to be new is, upon completing the installation at the residence, you're going to have to fill out a second WUFU form, a post-installation WUFU form. On that form, there's going to be information that you have to enter, including the location, how many people live in the residence, how many detectors were installed, and we're also going to be getting a grant, so there's going to be further information that's going to have to be obtained at that point. But every time you do an installation, you have to complete a post-installation WUFU form. If you are on a call or out doing an installation and you have the alarms available and somebody requests to have an alarm put in, you can go ahead and put those alarms in at that time. You do not have to generate a request WUFU for those alarms. However, you do have to complete the post-install WUFU form. Again, if you're out and about or somebody stops by the station and would like a smoke alarm put in and you are going to handle that immediately and install them right then, you do not need to complete a request WUFU smoke alarm. Just the post-installation upon completion. If somebody comes by the station or you're out and they request a smoke alarm and you're not able to put that alarm in immediately, then you need to fill out and complete an installation request WUFU when you return to the station. That installation request will then be forwarded to us, and you can write on that request when you fill it out that somebody stopped by the station and would like an alarm placed in their residence, and that you are going to handle that, and I'll know not to reassign it to you. However, we will have accountability at that point and be able to track that to make sure it is completed. Our goal is anytime anybody requests a smoke alarm, that in a reasonable amount of time we get that alarm installed and take care of their needs. A couple things with the smoke alarm. There was some myths and some concerns out there about previous ways we handled the alarm request and how many we put in. And so currently what we're going to do, if you open the smoke alarm box and read the manufacturer's recommended instructions and the NFPA guidelines, we are going to install smoke alarms in every bedroom, the hallway, the living room, and every level of the house, every floor. We are also going to not install alarms in the kitchen area. Kitchen areas create nuisance alarms, which people will eventually take the alarm down or get rid of it because of the incidences where it goes off due to the cooking. So stay away from the kitchens. We are going to put smoke alarms in rental property, commercial property, any property where somebody is living, sleeping, and residing. We are going to place smoke alarms in that. Doesn't matter who owns it, doesn't matter where it's located, we are going to install alarms if we are requested. That's one. Again, we're going to follow those recommendations from the NFPA, every bedroom, hallways, living room, every level of the home. If you go to a residence that has 4 bedrooms, it's an elderly couple, they stay there alone, they only sleep in 1 bedroom, we do not need to install alarms in bedrooms where nobody is sleeping. You can explain to them, if that changes or somebody else moves in or they end up using that as another bedroom, at that point they can call or get on the WUFU and request another alarm, and we will come out and install alarms in the bedrooms where people are going to be sleeping. But just because it's a bedroom, if nobody sleeps in it, we're not going to put an alarm in it. We need you to use some common sense and get these people protected with these smoke alarms. But, you know, we need to follow the guidelines as appropriate. The other thing we're going to do is on the alarm, we're going to take a black Sharpie, and fellas, you know, we don't have to write it in a big, huge letters on the alarm. We need to make them legible, make sure people can read the date, but maybe on the side of the alarm or on the front panel where it's flat, we need to place the date when the detector needs to be replaced. Okay, and what we're using for that, these are 10 years detectors. We're doing 9 years, 11 months. So today is July 28th. If you installed a smoke detector today on that smoke alarm, and again, I apologize for that, but it is smoke alarms now, not detectors. We're referring to these as smoke alarms. On the smoke alarm, if you installed that today, July 28, 2014, you would write on it June of 2024. Or you would put, you know, 6/24/2024 on the alarm. Explain to the people that that is when that alarm needs to be replaced. Okay, while we're doing these installations, we are not going to do anything to any hardwired detectors. We're going to leave those in place. We're going to advise them that we do not touch or mess with the hardwired detectors. If they're out of date or if they're non-compliant or not working, they can go to Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, and pick up those alarms on there. We do not replace. We're not even going to disturb, mess with, touch any hardwired detectors. Okay, we are. If you're in the home to do an installation and they have old detectors, old 9-volt or detectors that are out of the 10-year lifespan or just aren't working or manufactured and malfunctioning, we're going to remove those detectors. Okay, you're actually going to remove those battery-operated old detectors from the residence and discard them. So from there, we'll remove the old alarm and transfer it into the new ones. It's a hard transition between remembering it's a smoke alarm and not a smoke detector. I've had some trouble getting around that, but the new accepted term for these are smoke alarms. So try to remember that when you're out in the public or out dealing with them. It's a smoke alarm and not a smoke detector. We are not currently, we do have a grant coming, and we are going to be obtaining a whole lot of detectors, or as many as we can purchase through the grant. Once that grant actually comes, there will be some more information that's going to have to be entered on the installation WUFU for the grant. It's going to ask a couple of questions. One of the big questions is the economic status of the residents and how much they make per year. It's a hard question to ask. It is not a very easy situation. However, it is required for that grant. They have to have that information. So you can explain to these customers that, you know, we've purchased smoke alarms through the grant, and one of the things that the federal government has to have through that grant information is the level of income for the resident. So explain it to them. Let them know why we have to ask, and then just document that information on the WUFU installation request. Smoke alarm part. We are going to be setting up some blitzes in different areas, and we are going to coordinate that. We ask that the stations at this time do not plan or try to coordinate any blitzes on their own. We are going to get around to different areas within the county for these blitzes. However, due to the supply and the demand of the alarms, we need to schedule those and make sure that we have the product available before we try to do these blitzes in the different areas. If anybody has any suggestions or questions about the smoke alarm program, or ways you feel that we can improve or try to better establish this system and this program, please feel free to call anybody in the fire investigation unit or email email us with those suggestions, and we'll try to see if there's anything we can do to improve on this. We're beginning this phase with the alarms, and we would definitely appreciate any feedback or any suggestions on how to improve it or how to maintain it. Following this video, there will be some voiceover on the WUFU programs to show you what needs to be documented and how to accurately fill out the post-installation WUFU. Again, we thank you for your time and your support in the smoke alarm program.
Now we're going to cover a smoke alarm request form and the post-smoke alarm install form. Both forms can be found on the Ori Fire Rescue group site page by going to the main page, coming to the tab More, and selecting Electronic Forms. When we select Electronic Forms, it's going to bring up this list of various forms that we've compiled. The ones we're currently concerned with are closer towards the bottom: Smoke Alarm Request Form and the Post-Smoke Alarm Install Form. Fire service personnel are going to fill out the smoke alarm request form when they are either on scene and they have a customer walk up and request a smoke alarm install, and we don't have the required number of alarms on hand, or say we might be heading to another call and we just don't have the time to do it. We want to generate a smoke alarm request. That way we can get the required number of alarms sent out to the station and schedule a time for that installation. So we go ahead and we select Smoke Alarm Request Form. It's going to bring us to this next page. We want to go ahead and put in the customer name, their primary contact phone number. That way we have somewhere to get a hold of them to schedule the installation. Want to put in the address where the installation is going to occur. Say a daughter comes by and she wants a detector installed at her mother's house, then we want to make sure we put in the address for where the install is going to occur. Towards the bottom of the form, we have a few options: number of bedrooms, occupant, are they hearing impaired, and do they have any hardwired detectors present. Number of bedrooms concerns us because that's going to tell us kind of sort of how many alarms we need to kind of try and send out. If you're in the Grand Dunes or some of the larger beach houses, and they may have 5, 6 bedrooms, but how many are they currently utilizing? How many are actually occupied by sleeping residents? If right now they're only utilizing 2 bedrooms, then we want to go ahead and put in 2. We don't want to waste smoke alarms by installing them in unoccupied rooms just because they have the potential to be used as a bedroom. Later on down the road, if their living situation changes and they get another resident, or they happen to rearrange their house and now they're utilizing that room as a bedroom, you can let the resident know during your installation that they can always contact us, and we'll come back and put another alarm in if they happen to make that bedroom an occupied bedroom. So we want to go ahead and say we have 3 occupied bedrooms. Is the occupant hearing impaired? Do we need to give them a visual indicating smoke alarm? Do they have any hardwired detectors present? Yes or no, pretty simple. Under the additional information, we can utilize this box to maybe request any kind of crazy installation hardware or anything that we might see that we're going to need in addition to just the quantity of smoke alarms, or if we've got a large house with a lot of hallways and we're going to need an excessive amount of smoke alarms, go ahead and put that in the additional information. One other usage of this box would be if you were on scene or while you were speaking to the individual, if you've already scheduled a date and time to come back and complete the installation, then go ahead and put it in this additional information box. That way, when the form is received, the individuals that receive the form at Fire Investigations are not trying to send out the alarms as well as schedule the installation if you've already taken care of that. Once all the additional information has been entered as you see fit, go ahead and hit the Submit form. This will go to the Fire Investigations Unit, which is now handling the smoke alarms, and they'll gather up the required number of alarms, get them sent out to your station, and schedule the installation. Okay, now that we've completed the smoke alarm request form, anytime that we complete an actual smoke alarm install, we need to come back to the group site and do a post-smoke alarm install form. That form can be found from the main group site. We go to More Electronic Forms, post smoke alarm install form, and it'll bring us over here. Once again, anytime that we go out, if we've been pre-scheduled by the fire investigators to go do a smoke alarm installation, if we've scheduled the installation ourselves, if we happen to be on a medical call and realize that they need smoke alarms and we have some in the apparatus, anytime we complete a smoke alarm installation, this form needs to be done. We're going to be utilizing it for grant purposes and for tracking the number of smoke alarms that are actually being installed for inventory purposes. The form's fairly simple. We've used a form like this before. This one has some additional demographic information that we'll be utilizing for granting purposes. While we're going through it, some of the fields you may or may not feel comfortable asking the resident the necessary demographic information. You know, what is their race and ethnicity, particularly their income level, their household. If you don't feel comfortable, you can pull this form up on your iPad and maybe have them point to the particular form, or you can utilize a printed form that you can bring with you prior to the installation, or maybe keep a couple of them in your the clipboard on your fire apparatus. You can go to the group site, go to the filing cabinet, and we're going to go to the group files. We're going to come all the way down to forms, and we're going to go to office forms. Inside there we see the smoke alarm worksheet. We pull that up, it's going to have pretty much the same information on the other sheet, the demographics of their race and ethnicity, and a breakdown of household size to income ratio. You can bring this form with you and just basically hand it to the occupant and ask them to fill it out. Try to make sure that when you talk to the occupant, you explain that this form is utilized for nothing more than grant purposes and allows us to continue with the smoke alarm installation projects that we've been doing. So back to the post smoke alarm install form. It's fairly self-explanatory. We start at the top with station installing. What station am I? The occupant's name that we just installed the smoke alarms for, their phone number, the address where the smoke alarm installation has occurred, how many occupants are in the household. This has a bearing on how this form is actually going to be displayed. So if we select 2 occupants and we scroll to the bottom of the form, we're going to see that the field for household level is set at 2 persons. We go back up here and we change this to 4, scroll down, and the household level income field changes to 4 persons. So we want to make sure we get this correct. How many occupants were in the house? We're going to say we had 4. Is the household member hearing impaired? I guess they'd like to know if we had to do any visually indicating smoke alarms. Does anybody have a disability in the house? And is it headed by a female? Once again, these are questions that are utilized for granting purposes and really have no bearing on HCFR. But we need to obtain this information, that way we can continue getting smoke alarms. All right, the race ethnicity responses. When we're filling these out, we want to make sure that the total number in these boxes is equal to the total number of occupants that we have here. So in this house that we just did the installation in, we had 2 Caucasians, we had 1 African American, and we had 1 Hispanic, Latino, and white. 211, we have 4 occupants. We come on down, we have the income level of the household. It's set at 4 persons. We go ahead and select whatever they've stated that their income levels are. The number of alarms, how many alarms did we install in the residence? Number of crew members. How many crew members were on the apparatus at time of installation? And what type of home was it? Single family, apartment complex, mobile home. We don't discriminate as to the type of residency that we place smoke alarms in. We'll place them in any structure that has the potential for someone to be sleeping in it. Under time spent, this one is a little different. You got to make sure that whatever you put in here, that you're going to round it to the nearest half hour. If you were at a residency, you only had to do the installation of 1 alarm. the occupant was well versed in its maintenance utilization, and it only took you 15 minutes, then go ahead and put in 0.5, just round it up to the nearest half hour. If you had to put in, say, 4 or 5 alarms, it was a large residence, the occupant was not knowledgeable on their utilization maintenance of smoke alarms, it took you a little longer to complete this installation, say an hour and 15 minutes, well, we're going to want to go ahead and put in 1.5. Just make sure that you round up to the nearest half hour for whatever time you actually did spend. Under the station installer name, we're going to go ahead and put the name of the individual filling out this form. Date install completed. If you are completing this form on the day the installation occurred, this will already be filled out for you. It'll fill in automatically with today's date. If you're completing this form, say the shift after you actually did the installation, or on any other day, then you come in, hit this little box. It's going to give you a calendar, and you can just select the date that you actually did the install. When you're satisfied that all the fields are filled out appropriately and all the information correct, then go ahead and hit the submit button.
The doorbell. Decent price. Good morning.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Lieutenant Chris Berry with Horry County Fire Rescue.
Tony.
Nice to meet you, Tony. Okay, so we're going to install some smoke detectors for you today.
Okay.
All right. First thing,
The old ones, yeah.
this is the old ones. First thing we want to do is we're going to check to make sure that they're in date. These are hardwired detectors.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to check them. Let's see what the date is.
I'll give you 3 apiece.
2 of 98. Okay. All right. So we recommend every 10 years you replace your hardwire batteries. You see how it connects in. So you can bring this to any of the stores, Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, any of those stores, and I'd bring this with you and ask a sales associate to help you so you can pair up the right ones. They've got all different kinds. Some of them have different connections. So if you bring it with you, you can pair the right one up. So with these being 10 years old, you need new ones. Okay? I'm going to actually just keep this down for now. If it is in date, what you want to do is obviously check it to make sure that they're properly functioning. I'm going to let you, Buckley, with your height, get on in here and go ahead and plug those back in. Just plug it back in for me.
You know nothing about it? There was no paperwork in the box or anything?
No. All right, this is the other one that came installed with the house.
Okay.
This is the battery and power one
That you installed. All right. Alright, so it's still functioning, but again, because it's over 10 years old, we're going to replace it for you, okay? Another key to remember, guys, is that we don't want to install any detectors in a kitchen area because we don't want to create what we call a nuisance alarm. Anytime you burn toast or anything happens, they're going to be going off, and eventually the homeowner is going to get frustrated with the alarm constantly sounding, and that's when they pull them down or take the batteries out. So we want to make sure that we install them in an area that's not going to create a nuisance, so nothing in a kitchen. We don't want to install them near a furnace, near a fireplace. We don't want to install them anywhere that's going to be damp or have humidity, like in a bathroom where the shower steam can do, or in a basement. We do have some basements in the area, so we don't want to install in a basement. Also, when you're installing them, you want to remember that you don't want to put it in a corner because that's kind of a dead space for smoke travel, and you want to install them between 4 and 12 inches from the ceiling. Okay, this one you said was a battery control, but it doesn't have a battery in it. Okay, all right. So also you always want to install your smoke detectors in the bedrooms. If you open the smoke detector packaging, it has that manual inside. The manual will go over all of this for you, but it is recommended by NFPA 72 that you install them in every bedroom, in every hallway. If the hallway is longer than 40 feet, you want to install 2, and on every level of the home. So if it's 2-story, you want to, obviously have them on both levels. So a good place for this home, this is a 3-bedroom house. We're going to install 1 in each bedroom, and the hallway is right adjoining to the living room area where the family congregates. So that's going to work for that area also. So we're installing 4 in this home. These are battery controlled, so they're not hardwired, but they have a 10-year lithium battery in them. Okay. So we want you to think of it like an anniversary. 10 years from now, they're no good. But the pro to that is the battery will last for 10 years. So it's not, normally we tell you when you turn your clocks forward and backwards every 6 months to change the batteries. Once we install these, the battery's good for 10 years. After 10 years, you're going to take them down and replace the whole thing.
The whole thing, okay.
10 years, so it should be good. But, you know, it's a battery. It's still a battery. Where that hardwire, you'll have that.
Obviously, we recommend that you replace them. Do you have to? You'll be covered with the other ones with the right, but obviously we recommend that.
Okay, guys, just remember that when you do install them, after you install them, you want to make sure you test them and make sure that they're properly functioning. All right, this is a waiver form. We get it on all of our installs, just basically telling you that we've installed a lithium 10-year smoke detector, and you just want to replace it after 10 years. Also, I want to go over the maintenance of it. We recommend that you test them once a month. Just go up to it and push the button and let it go off. It's going to do that 3 beeps like it did a minute ago. And also, we recommend that you take your vacuum just periodically and just use the soft bristle brush on the vacuum, the attachment, and just go over it for dust, just so we know that it's properly functioning.